All right, so we're back today, and we have I think we always have very good guests, and people on the comments are telling us we have very good guests. So today we have another great guest.
Is that we have guests that are interesting.
Yes.
We have guests that people want to know, and this is called the Day of Miami.
Yep.
So again, I always say that it's anything that's happening within the Day of Miami.
Yep.
What's interesting to some people may not be interesting to the other, but this is going to be interesting.
This is very interesting.
Because I'm already interested before we even started taping.
Yep. So we got Dr. Padilla here today.
Aplauso.
He's a psychiatrist.
Yes.
Of all types of humans.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know.
Absolutely.
All types
All
of
ages?
All ages.
All ages.
From 3 to 92.
From 392. Okay.
Doctor, check.
And welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you
Doctor,
for
we
having
always
us.
want to start off with explaining to those who are watching who may not know who you are. Give us a little background on yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Well, I'm Dr. Padilla. First name Americo. The other people might not have never heard that someone named Americo.
Well, instead of America, Americo.
Exactly.
Nice.
It would have been great if you got married to America. America and Americo.
That's right.
You see?
I'm going to have to tell my wife, new name, Americo. I like that.
I'm married to someone named Lazara. So
There you
that's
go.
very cute. Very Cuban in that
That's
way.
good. That's good. I like that.
And so I'm a child psychiatrist, and I'm also an adult psychiatrist, board certified in both child psychiatry and adult. And, I do everything from 3 to 92, mostly children under 18, because I'm the chief of the Department of Psychiatry at Nicholas Children's Hospital.
Oh.
I also do a lot of training in doctors. I have residents and fellows that come to me and rotate through me, and I train them to become psychiatrists. And those residents come from different community mental health centers in the community, and that's what I do, dedicated to try to make better doctors and treat our community better for improvement of overall our society and the world.
I was going to ask a question, since you're, going out there and teaching and doing fellowships. Do you see more people getting involved in the field? Do you see more doctors studying and getting involved in the field?
Yes.
Less? Like, how do you see the appetite of that profession?
Well, that's very interesting. We had just a conversation with a group of colleagues about that. About 10 years ago, every residency program that trained doctors in psychiatry, they always have vacancy. Wow. Now at this day, it's hard to find a spot in someplace else because the amount of people that, for example, in our fellowship, we have tens of residents applying for a fellowship program. Before, we used to have maybe 1 or 2 applying for it. And the residency program, we have about approximately 5 residency programs in Miami-Dade County. They're all full all the time.
Now, do you think the new ones are more resilient and more prepared for today's day and age, or do you still feel like the older generation is more prepared to handle what's going on like today with social media and all the stuff that's going on now?
That is an interesting question. The older generation, we were prepared to deal with more chronic things that, the stigma in psychiatry was so big that only the very chronic ill patient will come to us.
Gotcha.
So that's why the community have very little resources on that.
Yeah.
With the new generation, the stigma is going away. Now everybody knows that mental health, right now we're in a crisis. In a crisis not just in adult psychiatry, but also in children. It's a huge crisis across the nation.
That's my next question. You just said that. So years past, I would never have thought, how many people think that you need so much childhood psychiatry? And the fact of that you tell this to my parents that are 80-some years old, and they would tell you, you're not taking your child to a psychiatrist.
Te doy la chancleta.
Give me, dale. Oye, quítate la tontería esa arriba, muchacho.
Yeah.
Pa! Una nalgada, so... True. I mean, and now, I guess all these studies, and I would love for you to elaborate a little bit on that, in the sense of, do you see such a huge rise in this that I guess...
Absolutely.
Absolutely. To my word, if you really psychoanalyze that, they could...
Yeah, I'll give you an example. We used to see patients. We have a unit until recently that we increased the number of the unit of 20 bed. We used to have bed all the time. So at this point, we have increased it to 40 bed, which is the biggest psychiatry unit in the state of Florida.
Wow.
For children and adolescents.
You mean 40 beds available?
40 beds
people?
available for children to be admitted into a unit. So, which would mean you're going to be institutionalized, those children, for a little while because of the crisis. The crisis come from many aspects. A lot of social dysfunction, a lot of family dysfunction, a lot of media. Social media is one of the issues that they're very much involved.
It's crazy.
There are websites that teach kids the wrong thing. There are things that they get involved in social media that they shouldn't be involved. And that create a lot of crisis. They learn so many things. They become so many things different like we used to be in the past. In my time, my social environment was going to play pelota,
right?
Play baseball.
We talked about that last time.
Yeah.
I mean, everything has changed. I mean, in the sense
now it's internet or it's
Right.
things. Even in television, things are changing dramatically. There was a lot of restriction in the past. Now there's very few restriction.
Yep.
You see it in all these programs that they curse and they do all that stuff. You didn't hear that in my time.
No.
Kind of
You
thing.
heard
So
it.
there's a lot of things that now is family integration. There's not so much family integration. The high number of divorces, and many problems come from that. Many problems come from school, from peers pressure, things like that. So there's a lot of things. So the crisis is imminent. Because of all the negative influence that come to
Well, you just said something important that I think that happens too with peers, within peers, the bullying situation with the kids and stuff like that. Now, Doc, do you see that also being instilled a lot from their own parents as well?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Could it be like the fact that these parents are having problems?
The parents are having
they pass it down
problems.
to
The
kids?
parents are not interested. The parents have different way of raising this
Right.
Que están llamando allá afuera.
Yeah.
of raising the kid. There's a lot of divorces that they end up in bad situations. There's a lot of abuse, a lot of trauma, and you see that at all levels. Different socioeconomic classes have different way of being involved in the children's lives. Immigration is a problem. Drugs is a problem. All kind of things. I mean, it's a lot of stuff, negative influence for children out there.
Do you feel like you have these kids that you're working on or working with and coming into your facility? Do you feel like in a lot of the cases, maybe parents aren't that involved and they're letting like the world and social media raise them?
Many cases.
And they're very disconnected of what they're even consuming or what they're doing, and they don't even
Many
know
cases.
until it's too late.
Or it might be that one parent is involved and the other one is not.
Wow.
There's cases that we had that the parent know what's happening with the kid, and the other parent doesn't know. Or there are cases that both parents don't even know that the kids are doing drugs or doing other things. They don't even know that because they're not so involved in their own job and their own lives that the kids are secondary, and that happens a lot.
Wow. And do you think like how do you first off, how does a kid end up in your hands like that you find out these things? Like, do a parent something snaps and they say, okay, we got to go see somebody?
Many times there's a crisis at home, and the police get involved, or a mobile crisis unit get involved, and things like that. Or many times go to school and the kid, for example, I'll give you an example of something that could happen any day, any time. The kid told another kid, I want to kill myself, I want to hurt myself, or I want to cut myself, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And that kid go and tell the teacher, and the teacher get the counselor, and the counselor evaluate the kid, and they send it to us.
Well,
that is very, very
That's important to have a good friend like that, by the way, if that happens.
Yeah.
Right. It's good for those kids to go in and report that, by the way.
One of my, 2 weeks ago, one of my buddy's sisters, his niece, made a bomb threat at the school. And she said, I have a gun. I'm going to bring a gun to the school. And she said it to some friends. And 3 a.m, they raided the house.
Yes. They will do that.
Took everything, took the girl. Incredible. Yeah. And she said, I was just messing around.
That's another issue we have. The school shooting is a problem now because we have a lot of copycat. Then something happened like that, then the kids start saying or write down that I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that to you because you bullied me, or to you, or things like that, and that they have to be involved. The police now have a division that every kid that make a threat to the school, they have to be reported.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Well, you have to take everything serious.
Yeah, you have
to take it serious.
You have to take everything serious.
What would you say are the top 3 issues you see kids struggling with right now when they come into you?
Depression.
Wow. From what?
It's number one. Depression from everything that could be from bullying, from parent not being involved,
Wow.
from trauma, a lot of trauma, sexual, physical abuse. Even it doesn't have to be from an adult. It could be from older kid in school. Bullying is very significant.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say.
Issue with self-esteem is significant. Social media influence a lot of kids, that you should be A or B or C,
Yep.
and they don't fit into it, and they become depressed because they don't fit into groups. Socialization is becoming a problem for certain kids, that they don't fit into group, they become socially isolated, and they become depressed, things like that.
And after depression, what else do you see? What are the cases?
We see a lot of things, a lot of trauma, a lot of substance abuse attached to it. Now,
what type of substances does a kid usually take? What are they doing?
They use everything, like an adult. Wow. The major crisis that we're having nowadays is kids using marijuana, and many times it's synthetic marijuana, because people in general don't understand that there are certain things that you have in your system, in your body, genetically, that could influence you to become psychotic, for example, or have an issue with depression and anxiety related to that substance abuse. And the synthetic marijuana are so toxic that we're having an epidemic of kids doing that on the street, that they can buy it anywhere, anyhow, and get it easy, and they becoming mentally ill. And the parents don't understand. My kid was doing fantastic in school last week.
Yeah.
And now he's in the hospital with a psychotic condition.
Wow.
Things like that happen.
Well,
trauma is also very, very important. We have a lot of trauma.
What type of trauma do they come with? Like usually?
All kind of trauma. Physically, sexually abused, things like that. Sex trafficking is becoming a problem. We see a lot more of sex trafficking. The people, older adults, use this kid to traffic them, things like that. Everything you can imagine that happened in adult mental health, it happened in children.
But then again, here's I go back to my original question again. I think it has to do a lot with the parents.
It does have a lot to do with the parents.
Because, I have kids. So, I try to think that I'm on top of my kids.
That's the key.
You're on top of them, but in a way, friendly way, and be friends with, and you try to recognize their mood changes, what's going on, are you okay, what's happening. You know your kids better than anybody. Yeah. So I would think, because like I tell mine every time they try to, bullshit me or something, I go, listen, I got an A+ in that class. So don't, not with me. But then at the same time, I start thinking, there's other new mechanisms that they try to go around you now.
They manipulate you.
They manipulate. So then at the same time, I'm thinking...
And they manipulate each parent.
Yeah. They know how.
Yeah. And the teacher, and everyone.
Yeah.
Correct. So then...
They're smart.
They're smart.
So then at the end of the day, I keep on saying to myself, how do you know, how can you not figure out the fact that your kid's doing some type of listen, one of the biggest things, and this happened in, not mine, but in some friends that I know in their school, they caught 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds vaping. And you're saying, how can these kids
Very common.
And they're doing just for cool shit.
Don't be surprised that I tell you that I have kids that are 9 years old
vaping.
that order marijuana or synthetic thing in the internet and arrive to their house crazy. And they pay for it.
A 9-year-old.
9-year-old.
Wow.
10 years old, 11 years old. That happened, and the parent need to be involved. That's one of the issues that the question is about. Parents need to be involved. They need to be on top of what the kids are doing. So
if for parents that are listening to us, what would you say are the best ways that they can get involved in their kids' life? Like, what should they be able to do from a monitoring perspective that you say, like, what suggestions do you give to parents that, should be looking for some signs?
You got to spend some time with the kid. You got to be open with your kid. You got to be able to say to the kid and be a disciplinary at the same time. You cannot be your friend kid. You have to be parent. And they need to understand that there are some restrictions that they need to come with your age. The age is important. You cannot have a 10-year-old kid, looking at internet, seeing things that are inappropriate, because they don't know how to interpret those things. So they need to understand that there are certain age for certain thing, and the kid need to understand that the parent has a restriction. I had children at 10, 11, 12, 14, 15 that spend 8 hours in the internet. 10 hours in the internet.
No, then if that's the case, I put another bed because I have to put my kid over there because
on video.
mine's on the
video
internet
game.
on a constant basis.
The most popular video games are damaging to kids.
No, 100%.
Yeah, and that's 8 hours of content.
Well, and
That happens with my daughter. It used to happen before my daughter.
no, it happens all
And
the
I
kids.
put restrictions on her phone.
Well, you can do the screensaver.
Correct. I put an app now that starts monitoring. And it will
That's
be
exactly
by
what you have
app.
to do.
So then the app, once you're on Instagram for an hour, boom, you can't go the rest of the day. Once you're on Snapchat for 2 hours, you can't go the rest of the day. And we organized like that after we found out that it was a problem.
There are websites that teach kids how to cut themselves, how to even hurt themselves.
Wow.
The app that teaching how to
crazy.
have an eating disorder.
That's crazy.
The website that teach them how to do this. That's why you need to monitor them.
No.
And the Academy of Pediatry recommend 2 hours in children under 12 only on the internet.
Yeah.
And it had to be restricted. It's only 2 hours. That's what they recommend.
I was going to say, is there any particular social media platform that you hear is most damaging to them?
It would be unfair to say that one is more than the other. But anyone, TikTok, YouTube,
all of them.
all of them have
yeah.
good and bad.
Yeah. They all have, I mean,
Interesting.
especially the TikTok world, with the fact of that it does.
There used to be video games that would have some restriction in the past. Now there's some video games there that don't have restriction anymore. And you know who is talking with this kid?
You don't.
Many times, adult.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Listen,
Cursing with each other.
listen,
Cursing, and not just that, using them to do things.
to that point.
That's why you got money.
And I always use it as an example. I mean, my kid loves he plays the Oculus, all that stuff. And sometimes I'm there and I'm listening to him. And then I'll just walk over there and he doesn't even know I'm there. And he'll be in the Oculus and I'm hearing him talking to people. No, move over here. You got over there. And then I tell him, who are you talking to? And then he'll tell me, no, it's
people.
It's in a pool.
Yeah.
And I go, but who are these people?
Random people from all over the world.
No, Dad, you don't understand it. It's only at this age. And I go, no. I take him off immediately.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you he hasn't done it.
Yeah, of course.
You
Well,
know,
the thing
because I
is
ask
that
him.
what happens is with gaming, not to veer off of this, but with gaming, as when we were growing up, we were playing Nintendo, and it was a center console, and it was only you. As it evolved and the internet came into play, the gaming systems now connect to the internet, and there's a big network that everybody pays to be on
Right.
now. Before it used to be
Across
free,
the world.
and
Right.
you connect.
Well, you got to go back to my gaming world, which was Atari.
Atari, yeah, that's Atari. I played it in the beginning.
And it was not connected to everything. You just had a little.
Yeah.
That's
But
about
those
it.
were the
So,
good times,
That,
you know?
that was the good time. That was a good
exactly
time.
right.
It's crazy. I look back at the 90s, and I don't know if it's just me, but I feel so nostalgic looking at those old school
There's
times,
a new
hanging out on the streets.
There's a
and stuff.
new condition called gaming disorder related to that.
See?
Because the kid become very obsessive to a point that the parent cannot get him out of the room to go to school or to do
Oh, wait.
anything with the social.
Doc, you can get them out of the school, you can get them out of the room, but they'll come out pissed off.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, angry.
I was in the middle of a game, and trust me.
I have parents.
Yeah.
I
I have a teen.
I have parents that come to me and say, "What do I do?" I say, "You need to bring him to the hospital." And then I have to hospitalize them to get him out of this obsession of the
It's like an
game.
addiction.
Right.
It's an addiction.
Yeah, because you're having fun for 8 hours and time flies.
So
I mean-
if you look at gaming, they're created to create addiction.
Yes.
It is 100%.
And if you look at the literature of gaming behind that, every game was created for children to become like.
To consume, yeah. To consume,
Consuming.
entertainment. Yeah, the same thing was happening with Snapchat and TikTok. They would put
And by the way,
features
that
in
happened with
place.
adults too.
Yeah, of course. That was adults.
No, with adults with the little, what is it? The little gaming thing? The
Candy Crush?
The Candy Crush? Yeah, I mean, there's people addicted to that damn
Listen,
thing.
I mean,
No, it
it's
happened
not
with
easy.
adults.
There's every day there's another distraction. Every day is another distraction.
So those are the kind of things that take kids from the normal social environment that we know, the family environment, the social environment that is a positive environment.
But I think I feel like I have a good family and stuff. But sometimes I catch myself laying in bed after work, and my wife is on her phone just right next
But
to me.
everybody
and
is.
and I'm on my phone right next to her. And
Yes.
I'm looking at it, and I'm like, man, this is kind of.
You're both in the same bed, but nobody's conversing. Everybody's just
And I'm
looking at the
like,
thing.
oh my God.
Or you're sharing, hey, did you see this video? Oh, let me show you this one. Let me show you this one.
If
Let
you
me
don't
show
mind, I could tell you this.
No,
You know,
please.
It happens to me too. And what we decided was that we're going to have those timing for another. There's time for us to have a conversation, even to watch television.
I like that.
But you go from one screen
just
to
watch
another
together.
screen.
Just
My wife's going to hold me to this now if she sees this podcast. I like that.
Leave this phone aside and let's watch a show or let's watch a movie together.
But the thing is this, like, and I agree with you. And
you have to decide it
no,
together.
but listen, I do that all the time. That's not a problem.
And if you have kids,
in my mind, I'm
find that
saying
time for them
you're going from one screen to another screen. So what do you? You're not really spending. You're laying down next to each other, entertained.
Well, but you're wrong.
But you're not
I'm
really
going to tell you why.
spending time
Because
like
you're
that.
conversing, to Doc's point, you're conversing then with your significant other about what you're watching.
Oh
you
no,
know?
I'm not a movie talker. I want to. I don't want to talk about it. I want to watch it.
But still, I mean, I could be watching something.
Are you one of those people that ask questions?
No, I don't ask questions.
if you have your,
I tell you what's going to
if
happen.
you have your phone in your hand, you cannot hold your
You're right.
Your
There,
wife's
you're right.
hand.
You're right. You're right. That, yes,
There
he
you
can
go.
snuggle. He's a big snuggler.
But that's another thing.
What are you,
So,
P. Diddy now all of a sudden?
I don't know if you guys remember. Manny, you might remember. You might remember. There was a time that when the phones started coming out, there were restaurants that have a little basket for
Of
people
course,
to
Doc.
put
I
it
like
in
that.
there.
I like that.
Old.
Do you
I
remember that?
Of
That's a
course.
good idea.
You don't remember that, man.
Listen, for restaurants,
He
we gotta bring
remembered
that back. Oh no, restaurants don't want you to do that because they want you to take pictures of other food and
Yo,
post
no,
it.
now restaurants
Right.
want that.
But
whole
that
thing.
restaurant used to do that because it became chaotic. That people were
That's true.
you there, me there.
Yeah.
They weren't flipping tables
Yeah,
fast enough, so
exactly.
they're getting distracted on the
Because you
phone.
really get distracted.
That's one of the things that you got to do.
Okay, go ahead.
No. I just think that is so important what you just said. And again, I think it goes back to what your parents instill in you.
Absolutely.
And the fact of if you had a good childhood. I mean, at least when you're looking at everything that's going on in the world right now,
You live by example.
you got to live by example. You know, I was celebrating my mom's birthday today, and I mean, we have something else on Friday, but she was a place. Let's go to lunch. But I sit there and I look at my parents, and their thoughts and everything is just so wholesome.
Yep.
Of what they're talking about, and they see somebody with something, and they're saying, my mother's like, "Qué barbaridad, qué horror," or whatever. And then you see them, and you're like, "Mom, you don't know nothing half of these things." She goes, "No, ni lo quiero saber."
Yep.
Because that was never how I brought you or your sister up.
That's right.
And then at the same time, you do have that, and you try to put that a little bit into them. But I see what you're saying with the sense of like, with so much going on nowadays. I mean, it's I don't know. I guess you can use the word cult. I mean, everything's like a cult. TikTok is a cult. This is a cult. All these gaming things, it just consumes you, and it's like mesmerizing, and you get involved in it.
Family is important.
Yeah.
Social environment is important. How many of your neighbors you know well?
Well, I know a lot of my neighbors well.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm the
But
president
many
of my
people don't
association.
I'm
even
one of
know
those
the name of the
exception
neighbor.
people. I'm one of those. They call me the mayor of my street, Doc.
But
So
that
that's
is important. Why? Because I remember when I was growing up,
Yeah.
that my neighbor could correct me if I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And if my father or my mother know that the neighbor corrected me, I was in trouble.
Yep.
Listen, I would ride bikes.
I respected like you were my own uncle.
But that's what I'm saying. Because I would leave school, to your point a little while ago, and I would leave school. I would get on my Huffy and go on my bike
With the pegs?
to my friend's house a block away. And now you became that parent's responsibility over there. So now you're under those people's domain. And when you were there and you were doing something, they're coming, oye, Manny, no, eso en mi casa no se hace. Or something like that. Yeah, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, my mother was calling the phone, oye, dile a Manny que venga para la casa.
That is the dysfunctional society nowadays. That you don't see that.
No, at all.
That is some of the problems.
I was gonna. I mean, this might be like a very ambiguous question, but I want to get your take on it.
He's an ambiguous guy, so he can take it. Go
How
ahead.
powerful is the thoughts that you have about yourself as a human? Like, how can that change your behavior and things that you do, the way you think about yourself?
It changed everything. It changed everything. If you're not positive about what your life should be, so you're never going to accomplish anything. If you're negative, you're not going to accomplish anything. If you're positive, you will accomplish anything in your life. There's nothing impossible. And the same thing with children and parents.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If the children see, they live on 100%. What they see.
Yep, that's true.
And if my father is a positive person, a good person, and I'm going to be that. That's what I want to be, or my mother.
Or even you can use it as an example of like saying, okay, he's great at this. He's lacking a little bit of this. That's where I want to excel a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
The other question that children, especially children, have is like, I'm not going to be like my father. He's a successful man. I'm not going to accomplish that. Wow. But hey, you could tell your kid, you don't have to be a lawyer, a physician, or anything like that. You could be whoever you want to be. It doesn't have to be that. You have the capacity to be whatever you want to be. You want to be an astronaut. You want to be a fire department person, a police officer, whoever you want to be. You could be as good as I am in my career, doing whatever you have to do.
Yeah, I think
there's no job that dishonor you. Any job that you do it well.
Correct.
It honors you 100%.
As a person. 100%.
Like my daughter growing up, I would just tell her, listen, just be a good human.
That's right.
Be a good person. Have fun, enjoy yourself, and be better than me. That's usually those are the little things I would always tell her.
And you're always going to be better than me if you do what you like to do.
I try to say that every day here in this office, but we still haven't gotten there, Doc. I try and share that sentiment, but I still have to come here. I still have to, put out the whip.
Yeah. I mean,
let's see the day that I don't have to come here. Everybody's better.
That thing's never
going
to happen.
A little bit of a pet talk. You call me, and I stop by.
I think
I'm 5 minutes. 5 minutes away from here.
Consultations here at least once a week in this office.
Hey, I have some coffee. This man just gave me some Cuban coffee.
Yeah. Do we have any more? No.
No. He's run out of it.
So I want to ask you another part within, and I think you can answer this within the, that world of psychiatry. Does nutrition play a role in that as well, do you think?
Absolutely. And activity, too.
Interesting.
There's two things that we emphasize a lot. Is the healthy food and activity. Activity could be exercising. It could be a playing sport. It could be something that the kid does away from the normal life that they have. School pressure, internet, things like that. So something different that will balance them out. And healthy food is significant.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one because, again, we're speaking to parents out there. And then a lot of parents, and let's be real, a lot of parents have, both mom and dad work. If they don't work, I mean, some have 2 jobs. And sometimes it's tough. They're on the go. So it's like, oh, I'm hungry. Here you go. Go through a drive-through, boom, and you resolve.
Yeah. But those are kind of the things that the parents can control, too, because the kid cannot be eating pizza every day.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you're going to go wrong by not having a nutrition that is appropriate. Diseases and all kind of diseases. Diabetes is significant. Overweight, you don't have to be diabetic. If you're overweight, the kids are going to make fun of you. Bullying, you mentioned bullying at the beginning. Yep. Bullying is significant in our school ground. Significant. There's no kid that go to school that don't feel bullied by other kids.
I still get bullied to this day. In this very office.
That's right.
I got to talk.
I noticed.
By Justin, not by me.
No, but bullying is that. And bullying became a federal offense, so the parents could do that.
Yeah.
But listen,
I can go to school and control that.
I was like, listen, all my friends, we make fun of each other. We poke fun in never a disrespectful way or cross the line.
But fun now is bullying.
Yeah.
That's
my brother
problem.
used to make fun of me and bullying. My siblings used to make fun of me and bullying. I always felt like it created thick skin for me, like things didn't penetrate. I really didn't care.
And it does, depending on how resilient you are.
There you go. That's a good point.
If you're very sensitive to that, then you feel you internalize it, and then you feel that you are not good enough.
That made you that way. There's some other people. Doc's point that doesn't make them that way.
If at 12 someone grabbed your finger and twisted it and you cried, you could get tougher and maybe defend yourself. Fine, which is fine. You defend yourself, but also you could see I'm a weak person. I cannot defend myself. Then you internalize that and it become a problem for you.
Yeah,
it becomes something negative within yourself, and that's how bullying is interpreted right now.
Yeah,
many of the kids complaining of bullying, they're not really bullying. It's like, oh, you're fat today.
Right.
Today.
Right.
But they took it like, oh, my father, I'm destroyed.
Yeah.
That wasn't bullying 10 years ago.
That was not bullying.
Right.
You know
that
what?
was all. The kids just being kids.
You know what I think is huge
But they are
too?
legitimate bullies.
They're legit. Yeah.
Being abused badly.
Going back to keeping busy and being part of organization and sports and things like that, I think like building a camaraderie around a group of people and like accomplishing a goal together and doing something increases dramatically your confidence. You know?
Absolutely.
That you go back to the old saying, and Doc will know, dime con quién ande.
Yep. That's incredible, but yeah.
But it's the
true.
truth. That's how it is.
Very true.
Yeah, how many kids come to you saying like, well, I'm depressed because my friend rejected me for other. Hey, okay, your friend have the entitled to reject you, and you're entitled to move on and find other friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they don't see it that way. They just saw the negative part of it.
How do you factor in people being able to take or create an environment to take on constructive criticism? Like, I think you should be able to hear someone's outside opinion of yours, dissect it, and then accept it and say, you know what, I think you're right.
Constructive criticism have a lot to do with how you interpret what they're being said to you. Because you as a father, for example, you tell your daughter what you tell them, she might say, oh, you're going to tell me that because you're my daddy and I love you. See, that's different than believing herself that she could do it. So if the construction that you're trying to build there is in a positive way that they can see it, have evidence, legitimate thing, the tactile thing, that they can touch it, they can feel it, they will do it.
And it works. So it's the way it's delivered and the premise that it lays on. That makes sense.
That's why I tell parents sometimes, so let me tell your kid what I'm telling you, because you're telling me that you keep telling them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they don't listen to you. When I tell them, okay, I have a kid in my office yesterday, for example. The kid lost his game. And I said, hey, Rudy, why do you lose your game? Oh, because I have an F in English. I said, oh, so your mom took your game because you have an F in English. What happened if you would have a B or an A? Would you have your game? Yes. Then it's your fault. Yeah. That's your job.
That's smart.
So he took it in a different way than mom just grabbing something and taking it away from him.
By the way, that's a daily basis in my house.
That's the point.
You know,
so it's different.
We're gonna bring it over here, man.
You're not playing today, brother.
What did I do? I built that fact for him to realize that, hey, I'm in control of that.
So here's the good thing about that. I'm going to elaborate on that. So this happened to me yesterday. So yesterday's the same thing. We get home, we go through the process. What do you have? Look at your computer. Oh, I have no. My wife always. What do you have today? Nothing. Did everything in class. Nothing. Done.
Everything's perfect.
Everything's perfect. So then all of a sudden, my wife will go into the computer and then she'll see, okay, look, what about this? Oh, yeah, but I have an explanation. I thought he's going to be an attorney. He's going to be an attorney. Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden, so I'm the person that I'm calm. I'm calm. I have two levels. That's just my problem. So then I'm here. And then all of a sudden, no, because of this. What happened? Then the mom goes in and looks at the grades. Oh, but you lowered now. You were at 90-something. What happened to you at 80-something? No, because I didn't do. Oh, just because you didn't do an IXL that he was just supposed to do at the house. All of a sudden, I'm calm. When I said, he goes, no, Mom. I just try to go, hey, you know what? There's no mom. There's nothing. There's no explanation. Go now. Start doing your stuff. No, but I can't do it now because it closed me out. This thing of IXL closes you out. So he goes, okay, what do you got to do now? Go try and email your teacher. See if she can open it up again. Even if you get a lower grade, but you got to do it. No, Dad, you know the thing? I looked at him. I go, there's no dad. There's nothing, because here's the problem. You're not going to go into that playroom and do anything in no computer until all this is done.
Exactly.
So he sat down. He emailed the teacher. The teacher emailed him back immediately. She opened it up. She did everything right. So then he comes back to me and he goes, look, I did everything. I got this. And I looked at him and I go, do you see how simple this was? Do we have to go through this whole process of 4 hours of, to your point?
Well, you talked to him.
I talked to him. I told him, you're not going to eat. No, I'm joking.
Parents are not interested in doing that. Wow. Or they're busy doing something else. That's the problem. So those kids also, you could tell them, if you go to your teacher, if I'm your teacher and you come to me, you fell You have an F.
Yeah.
And you say, I want to repair that. I want you to give me more work for me to repair that.
I think
if I'm your teacher, I'm very happy you're doing that.
Yeah.
You be on my pedestal. I'm going to give you the thing, and you're going to have an A.
You're making an initiative.
You're making an effort.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we've talked a lot about
Talk with your children. That's important.
the problems of everything and the kids and why they get there. What is your typical solution? Like, you're taking on a case, you're talking to the kid. Give us on, like, how do you try to find, like, to get them back to where they could be or where they can go?
Well, that all depends on how severe is the cases. If the cases come to a point that they are, let's say, depression. We talk about depression. Have a severe depression. When the kids are under stress, they're like an adult too. They come to you that they cannot function. The functionality is gone. You have to treat them with medication, which we try to avoid as much as we can.
Yeah.
Because they're children, but there are medications that help. One of the things that the parents don't understand is that when we offer them to take medicine, that doesn't mean you're going to take the medicine forever. You're going to get them involved in therapy. You're going to have someone to rebuild their character, to improve their self-esteem, to make them believe what we're just talking about, it, that they can do it. They can become functional.
Well,
at that point, we have to do intervention with individual therapy, with family therapy, with medication, and sometimes put them in programs that are more intense.
Wow.
Like intensive outpatient program, which is 12 hours a week, or partial hospitalization, which is 20 hours a week, things like that, to rebuild them again.
Wow.
Many cases, the medicine help tremendously. Other cases, they don't help as much.
Well, do you think that falls into what we were talking about before we started recording with the ADD, the ADD,
absolutely,
the ADHD,
absolutely?
With the
nowadays, everybody's ADHD.
Well, no, God knows I'm it. But at the same time, in my time, I mean, if I was, messing around, your dad would just tell you, "Hey, get your act together." I mean, you just take it into that.
And we I think if we talk about it before, it all depends on who is going to be the person helping you and what condition are. ADHD is a condition that had to be seen by a pediatric neurology or a pediatric psychiatrist.
Correct.
In children.
An
adult that is specialized in that. Why? Because they require some medication that will help you tremendously.
Yes.
The Adderall?
Yeah. Adderall is a problem. Adderall is a problem because Adderall has become a substance use.
There's none anywhere.
It's the highest abused drug in college right now.
It's crazy.
That's a problem.
It's a concentration.
But there are medicine like Adderall works.
Yeah,
don't
Adderall
get me wrong, but in the right dosages.
Yeah. So I've taken Adderall before.
Yeah.
Right? And I was never prescribed for it, but my friends had it, and I would take it to go to school.
That's the way it started.
It's amazing how you retain information. Not that I am condoning taking Adderall. But I'm going to get to this. There's
a point.
I would finish my day, and at the end of the day, I would feel severely depressed.
Crash.
Yeah.
And I am not a depressed person.
You crash.
I would crash dramatically.
Look at it.
So I got to a point.
All the stimulant had that. It all depends on the dosages that we're talking about.
100%.
So I got to a point at one point years ago that it was like I was a very big person. And this is when I noticed, I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, something's going on here. So I was taking Adderall, like cada ratico, to take tests, etc. And it was a holiday season. And that holiday season, I'm always like somebody who likes holidays, and I get all happy for whatever. And I was like, I didn't feel that same energy. And I was like, I didn't even decorate my house, do nothing.
But let's say that
you lost a Christmas spirit.
I lost the Christmas spirit.
I give you an example. This medicine works. Don't get me wrong. They work very well. But at the same time, it's all depend on the person. It could change your personality. It
does
make you irritable. It could make you depressed. It could make you lose weight. It could make you a lot of stuff happening.
All the above.
Wow. That's why you have to have some supervision of someone that is an expert on that.
Yeah. But to Doc's point, that's why it's been also abused. Yeah. Because I know a lot of women that have used Adderall to lose weight.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like that. I never taken Adderall again after that. It was crazy. And I know people who take Adderall to party.
Yeah, absolutely.
To party and drink at the same time.
Same thing with drinking, and same thing with everything.
Yeah.
It's
a stimulant.
It's an epidemic right now. If I prescribe you Adderall, it's going to take you 2 months to get it from the pharmacy because they are all in back order.
Yeah, I know a lot of people buy it and then they sell it on the streets.
That's why it's a control system.
Yeah.
So for you to provide a prescription on that, you have to have a license for it. It's a control system.
But you can easily get it with a phone call, no?
No. at all. So to Doc's point,
unless the pharmacy are doing something wrong.
yeah, correct.
Oh,
or you're
Unless
buying,
you're in Miami.
or you're buying.
Sometimes in some places in Miami you can get it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's here.
Yeah.
You can get anything and everything.
But to his point, so my son takes it. And he takes a low dose, but you were spot on in the sense of we ended up taking him to a pediatrician, psychiatrist, so he can prescribe the correct, because he was with his pediatrician, but it was like, this was not working, that was not working, change this, and I kept on seeing those mood changes from him, and that's not him. Oh, yeah. And I would see him get to the house, and it was like all down, and I said, that's not my son. So then, but now with the correct dosing, he's fine. He's good, So that is so important to know that you really have to go to.
And this is what's going to happen. He's going to grow to 18, graduate from high school, go to college in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
To say a state.
No, stay in UM.
Whoever is going to treat him need to tailor-make that use of Adderall or any stimulant that we use for ADHD. And tailor-made means that in college, you have one class on Monday, I had 3 classes on Tuesday, and 2 classes on Wednesday, or maybe none on Friday.
Right.
You had to tailor-make the treatment. Otherwise, they become more and more attached to it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
So there are different kind of Adderall. There's a short-acting or a stimulant.
Extended release.
All the stimulants are short-acting and extended release.
Yeah.
All of them.
Some of them are pills, other ones have
kids
balls.
that are going to 8 to 2 the school, the long-actings are better.
Yeah.
For kids that are in college, the short-actings are better because it only lasts 4 or 5 hours, and you don't need to be loaded with those things, which you avoid side effects.
Correct.
So those kind of things, all my adult kids now that are ADHD that were my patient, I tailor-made the thing.
Well,
they give me the schedule, and I say, you're going to take it here,
at
here,
this
here,
time.
here.
Makes sense.
A lot of the people that I knew that took it in college, and they did phenomenal. They graduated and everything.
Absolutely.
They still to today take
That's
it to
why.
work.
That's why it's highly used in college.
Right. Well, listen,
And they take it to work. My friends have graduated, found good jobs. Until today, they still take it to work.
But there's some kids that told me, you're doing a disservice to me. Why didn't you give this medication a long time ago? Because, it would have helped me.
You're like limitless.
You have to be aware of the consequences.
You have to be aware. Back to the fact of the parents, by the way.
Yeah.
It's back to the parents.
So what is if you, maybe we're not too much detail, but what's like the craziest situation you've ever seen or been in or, scenario you've had as a patient?
Whatever you can think about it.
Wow.
It's like
all kind of things. Traumas is so severe in the community. Substance abuse, kids that are normal functional human being doing what I mentioned, synthetics and doing those things, or other things like, those drugs, party drugs, all that kind of stuff. They become so.
Well, for me, a 9-year-old buying marijuana is crazy enough for me.
Buying things over the internet issue with porno, for example.
Yeah,
that's a big problem.
Little girls or little boys involved in seeing things that are inappropriate.
Have you seen any issues with OnlyFans that girls have now? These OnlyFans accounts, anything like that?
Yeah, all kind of things. Everything you can imagine, I've seen it.
Yeah, and do you think there's a difference in Miami and other states and cities, or is it like a worldwide thing? Or
it's a worldwide thing. It's mostly in development country that have kids have access to things that are internet and all that kind of things. It's worse. But even you see it across the world. We have patients coming from Latin America with issues the same
to
way.
be treated here.
To be treated here.
So, and now you said that. Where do you? How bad or better or more or less so do you see the mental stage now in adult people? In what age?
The problem is that trickle down to adulthood because if you don't intervene, now they become dysfunctional adults.
Right, that's crazy.
And that's a problem.
And then they're going to have kids.
And they exactly.
Yeah.
They have kids. And they develop personality issue like borderline personality disorder or paranoid personality or narcissism or whatever that you could have stopped the progression at the time that we do the intervention. If we don't have parents involved and community involved and school involved and teacher and therapy and things like that involved, the progression is going to continue. Mental health evolved. I mean, you can start by having a little bit of anxiety and growing into something else.
Well,
if you don't do an intervention.
Do you think like that we're all just like fucked? Like everybody just has a problem and like anybody can.
We can use a nicer word than that.
You know, like
we're all screwed
We're
up.
human.
Correct. I feel like everyone has their own problems. You know?
Yes.
And can be
Absolutely.
technically diagnosed with
Absolutely.
something.
Well, listen, you walk around and you look at everybody and you say, I wonder what that guy's problem
Correct.
is. I wonder what that lady's problem
Right,
is.
exactly.
Everybody has an issue.
That's why I
So,
became a psychiatrist. I told you at the
so
beginning.
technically, anybody can be diagnosed with something.
Yes, with something.
With something.
Well, but again, the power...
What are going to make you a diagnosis that is to become what we call a psychopathology, that now you require treatment, especially with medication, is your function. If you are a dysfunctional person, you need treatment.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Well, I mean...
Because you can, I mean, you're human.
Yeah.
You like purple colors. You like yellow colors.
Yeah.
It's different.
Do you see a lot
And
of
you
people...
could have an ADHD, he could have an ADHD too. They were completely different.
Yeah. Do you see people coming in a lot of times like self-diagnosing themselves like through Google and like and is that a good or
We
bad
have a
thing?
lot of Google
That's your
Mother.
home doctor.
We have a lot of Google Mother, now Amazon Mother, and all that kind of things.
And what do you do in those cases?
We try to educate them.
Gotcha.
Education is very important because whatever is in Google is not 100% accurate all the time. It's a lot of good information, but also information.
we have 94,000 opinions from...
that are very...
Case by case.
So, Doc, tell me now. We talked about that, but another question I want to ask: what is in the adulthood area? What is the number one thing that you see in adulthood that want to go to a psychiatrist?
Many times depression, also anxiety.
Okay.
And there's an epidemic of new adult now, young adult, with a combination of social anxiety, depression, and dysfunctional because they cannot function in any environment. Social anxiety is very high, meaning that they go to places that they feel that they don't fit in there, and they become panicky, and that they have to leave, and they're becoming more isolated.
Is that a specific age group that you see that more or less, or just?
It's not specific. It's across the board. It started as a childhood, and it grows as an adulthood.
That's incredible.
So you see people that go into alcohol or substance abuse because of that. There's a lot of that influence. Anxiety, depression, substance abuse, because they're trying to fit into it. And they don't have the capacity or they don't want to go and see a therapy or a psychiatrist. So it grows into that, and they come a lot of the young adult, they becoming with anxiety, depression, and social anxiety. What we used to call in the past shyness, you become now a social anxiety because now you're self-aware, you're self-conscious of what other people are thinking about you. And you're always thinking that they're thinking the negative part of it. So instead of you feeling uncomfortable there, you go home and you stay home and drink. Or you drink to block it out.
Yeah. But you know, we're all so like quick to like doubt ourselves immediately, you know, like the human, or I mean most people just don't even give themselves a break. Like you criticize yourself constantly. I don't look good. I don't look this. I don't look that. I think
that's a lot of it social anxiety.
I think in some cases it might be good because you know you're kind of like trying to get better. But I think in some cases people,
if you have the capacity to get better, it's excellent.
Good point. Yeah.
To look at yourself and analyze yourself and say, I could be better than this. I'm not good enough, but I could be better. But if you internalize it in a negative way, then you isolate yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then you have the opposite where people say they're perfect. And there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know?
There's the other extreme.
That's another type of.
There's another
person
extreme, which are the perfectionistic, or the narcissistic that are better than everybody else.
Yeah. Incredible.
Do you recommend? Okay, so this is just my question. Is there like a self-diagnostic test that one can do?
There are plenty.
That you can say
Google.
to yourself. But then you can just say, okay.
There's a lot of rating scale out there that you can look at. Rating scale for anxiety, rating scale for depression, rating scale for borderline personality disorder, and you can look at it yourself.
Yeah, because I think I'm curious for people out there to say, well, maybe the viewers out there say, well, I don't know, am I in need of a psychiatrist?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe they don't know it. Because I have nobody to tell you, listen, I think you should get some therapy.
Yeah, if you want to get therapy,
if you
know, we have a very good person that you can go to.
Right, and if you have things that you doubt yourself, that you think you're not able to accomplish, I mean, go and see a psychiatrist one time for an evaluation.
I don't
not
think
a bad idea.
That's what I was saying. I don't think it should be bad. You know, the word psychiatrist used to be like a bad word.
Yep.
Right, it used to be.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I remember people saying, "Oh, you're going to a psychiatrist, loco."
Yeah.
You know, so then came the psychologists. You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Well, psychology.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you know, I would say, you know, if you're gonna go to the professional. I mean, if you're gonna go look at a heart, you don't go to your general practitioner. You go to a cardiologist. If you have headaches, you're gonna go to a neurologist. So if you feel like you have something, you know,
that you are not able to accomplish, that you think that stop you, go and see someone. Maybe he can give you a better idea how to handle it.
Is there times that maybe you as a psychiatrist says, listen, you don't need me, but you could go to a psychologist.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Many times.
Right. Okay. So that's
children.
important to me.
Adults and children. You don't need me.
You don't need me.
If you come to me, I'm going to medicate you.
Correct.
And you're not at the point that you can work on this with a psychology, a therapist, or with social worker, clinical social worker. You can.
So you're technically like the final frontier.
Yeah, I'm probably the one that will lead them into what they need.
Yeah, I think I will go first to a psychiatrist for him to tell me, no, you need help with me.
The psychology could do it.
Yeah.
But the psychology only look at you.
Right. They can't give you, if you need medication, they can't give you medication.
Your personality, at your coping mechanism, of some of the issues that you have, and all that stuff. They're doing an amazing job. But at the same time, if you think that you're going to need medicine, and the only one that's going to tell you don't need medicine is a psychiatrist.
Yeah, true. I mean...
And I do that all the time.
This, for me, is so important. I think that this show is so important because... The mental health issue really, now more than ever, is so important for people. Because there's so many people out there that maybe needed the help, but they just didn't have the push to go and get the help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you do something that you shouldn't have done when you have all the resources out there to go.
And the good thing about what we discussed about training people is like now there are more people available because we're training more people to become psychiatrists and psychologists.
How do you factor in? I'm guessing you guys have discussed this. How do you factor in the use of AI or artificial intelligence with your field? Have you guys gotten to that point yet?
We are at that point right now. We're trying to integrate some of that, in that way we can have better assessment. In terms of, for example, I'll give you an example. If I have templates for all the things that we do to create a good assessment on people, we take from the top to the bottom of your life, boom, 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 right down. The artificial intelligence is going to be helping us to create that in a more, because I use my word. Now the artificial intelligence is going to use a more global kind of thing that will help all the people that see my evaluation to see it more.
So incorporating
mine with the AI is going to be fantastic. We're in the process of doing that.
I've seen cases where people they have loneliness issues or depressed, and I've seen people just communicate with an AI just to get away from that. And they're just talking to a machine, they're talking to a computer.
That's
is that bad or good?
That's a double sword thing because it all depends what the AI interpreter what you're saying.
Yeah.
Imagine
that AI gives you somebody.
They might tell you you need to go and see someone in an institution. Go to the emergency room right now.
Correct.
And it might not be that because AI is not seeing. That's what I'm talking about. What I see with you right here, you and me, I'm seeing things on you.
Yeah.
And if you talk to me about anxiety or depression, I can see it by looking at you.
Yeah.
The AI doesn't see that. The AI just interpreted what you said.
Good point. That's a good point. Before we close, I want to have a couple questions. How do you think the stigma behind mental health has changed in the last 15 years or so?
I would say that changed dramatically with the pandemic.
Wow.
When people start isolate themselves and they start seeing that they never saw in their own cell and their own family because they were the fear that the pandemic created, they saw it in their own family, right there. And they start seeing wow, this is a problem. And we saw that coming out tremendously. Created a crisis for children and adults in general. Created a crisis in mental health.
So you saw
now the pandemic is over and people don't want to go out. That's fear. That fear to be out there involved.
Well, you see it. Some people still with a mask and stuff like that.
You still see it.
Right. So, do you feel that you saw a whole huge elevation
changes
in mental health after COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you associate like the current political climate to like mental health issues as well too? Like the way people see each other and always combating each other?
I mean, yes, talking about politics is tough.
Yeah.
But what you see that our leader do is important for people in one way or another.
Yeah.
But we see that sometimes you even see things that embarrass you as a person, as a citizen. That affect you.
How about like the way I
The
feel
economy.
the economy?
Yeah, no, of course.
That affect you.
That's
I
100%.
feel like one of
So,
the-
and if you have the fear that A or B candidate is going to destroy this or that you have as a person, that affect you.
Well, and it depends how you get affected.
Right.
Because if you're one of those people that really get, you listen, and I'm not talking about anything, whatever party affiliation you are. However you watch television, you get affected because you get frustrated with whatever person you like or dislike. You get frustrated.
Yeah.
So that you feel it elevating in your. So I just go. I turn out the television. I turn out television, and you leave.
And you get frustrated with the television and the program.
100%.
There's a program that talk with good about this person, and the
Then
other
you
one
like
that
it.
talk
You don't like
good
it?
about that
Correct.
person.
Yeah.
Kinda like
So
watching
it's
the
like,
Bible.
okay,
Right.
which one is the good one? Now there's an issue with Alexa. That if you
Yes.
ask
Right,
Alexa,
that's
there
right,
was
that's
something
right.
about
Yeah.
Alexa. Who should I vote for?
Right.
It will tell you
That's
vote for
screwed
this
up.
or vote for
but
that.
But correct.
I just heard that on the news.
Yeah.
But then again, that is also like maneuvering people's mental health,
Right.
Because then if you're now, you want to be up to par in the new thing of life of technologies.
That the point is create fears.
Yeah.
And the fear affect you personally.
Yeah, what I don't understand a lot of times is families being torn apart for politics, but I think that has its own world.
Brother, but that's been
reason
going on
for years.
Not now. That's been going on. Go talk to people that are from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela. You can go anywhere that politics divided families, brothers and sisters.
People are entitled to
Their own
believe
opinion.
in whatever
That's
they
what it
want to
is.
believe.
The only issue that's affecting my mental health dramatically right now is the Miami Dolphins.
Well, the
Same old Dolphins, man. Now we're back at
The
it.
Dolphin, the Heat.
at the end of the day, I'm glad that's the only thing that's really affecting your mental health, which is sports. You know what I'm saying? I mean, our viewers out there are tormented about $9 an egg. But anyway,
That is
or
that's
$7 for a gallon of milk. But it's okay. We'll go with the Dolphins and Tua's future, which is still $100 and some million that he's
Yeah.
going to get while he stays home buying all the eggs and milk that he wants.
Yes,
so he
that's
has
true.
no issue. His mental health is just left now with $145
Don't worry,
million.
one of these days we'll be back on the top.
I hope so.
Keep hoping.
Well, listen, I for one can tell you, I can be talking to you the whole day.
Forever.
But I know you're going to start charging me. But
You know
at
what
the
your
end of the
charge
day-
is this kind of thing will help our community.
100%.
But you know what? I'm actually
You
curious.
already paid me.
Oh, thank you,
I'm
Doc.
actually
I
curious.
appreciate
How
that. But
much
still,
is it like an average cost to get assistance from someone, más o menos?
It all depends. Now, if you go to a private person that only take cash, it could cost you $400 an evaluation.
An hour.
Yeah.
$4 an hour.
If you go with your insurance, it could cost you only $150.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how many hours a week is it good
Well,
for
if you go to therapy, you have to go once a week.
once a week?
Well, and there's some insurance that'll cover
Yeah,
for
they
you and
cover
stuff
it,
like
right.
that.
Many insurance will cover.
Well, Doc, let me tell you something.
Yeah, the community mental health center, they all take insurance and they'll cover it.
Got you.
It's been for me. It's number one. I've known you for a while, and it's a pleasure to have you on the program, and I would love for you to come back. And I think that this program it really serves to the community. That if anybody thinks that anybody's dealing with a mental issue, young, old, or whatever, should try and seek some type of help and really get involved.
Don't be afraid because we're not going to label you. We are going to help you to guide you
100%.
into the right direction.
Doc, so quick question. What could be something that could lead to mental health? Give me like something that doesn't have to be could sleep deprivation, could something like that lead to mental health?
Anything that impact your self-esteem, consciousness, will affect you. Give you an example. Trauma. You have a car accident.
Okay.
And you felt like you were going to die in the car accident.
Right.
That's going to affect you. If you have sleep problem, that many people have now, a sleep problem.
That's a huge one, by the way.
And sleep deprivation could cause all kind of things.
Yeah.
If you have medical illness like hypothyroidism, that will create depression, that will create other things.
Yep.
If you have traumatic brain injury, it could create problem with cognition, with memory. That will bring you some of the things like that.
How about PTSD?
PTSD is one of the trauma issues. Now PTSD, in the past we only see it in the army people and the military. Now we see it across the board because the trauma have so much of variety that it goes from bullying. That could be a trauma for a kid that affected sleep, affect the concentration. All that, those kind of things will give you an indication that something is coming on. For children, for example, the kid changes in behavior. This is not my kid. There's something going on here.
Right.
Maybe something happened to him in school. Maybe something happened with peers. Maybe something happened like that. Those are the kind of things that you make you aware that something is coming up.
Right.
For you yourself, memory issue, like we talked in the past. If you have a memory issue, you have poor concentration, things like that. Why am I having this? Am I stressed out? Is it too much stress that I'm receiving? Is it something that is changing? Why I'm getting anxious when I don't supposed to be anxious about this because this is my life, kind of thing like that.
So we can easily say sleep deprivation, anxiety, depression that you haven't found a job or
Exactly.
stress at work. All these things can lead. It can start at a level that can go and get an elevated to mental health.
Right.
Yeah.
Remember, also there's a lot of genetic things. If you have family members that, for example, 3 or 4 of them suffer from anxiety, and suddenly you become a little more anxious. You need to look into will you develop some anxiety issues, and the anxieties are various anxious problems. It could be a generalized anxiety that you worry so much about A or B or C that become a problem because they're going to affect you into other part of your life to function. It becomes now a little issue with mental health. Same thing with sadness. We all get sad.
Yeah.
For one reason or another. The point is that the sadness has become so deep into you that now you don't sleep. That now you have thought of doubt, thought of what am I doing? Am I a functional person? Am I not? Am I going to make it? I'm not going to make it. If you have losses, like it could be financial losses, or people that died in your life, that could take you into
grievance. Grieving somebody, 100%.
That could take you into something else. And sleep deprivation is one of them because you stop sleeping or falling asleep. There's a lot of kind of sleep deprivation. It could be from falling asleep to waking up in the middle of the night to earlier waking. Those are changes in the insomnia that are different that could affect you differently.
Yeah.
Things like that. Physical health. If you're not healthy, you're going to feel tired. And then that's going to affect your functioning, and that will take you into mental health issues.
Wow.
So everything, that's why we keep healthy.
That's perfect.
Healthy food, exercise, healthy lifestyle.
So, Doc, give me your advice a little bit on any adult places that people can go to that you think that if they're experiencing any type of mental
here in Miami, there are plenty places. Thank God that are growing with the crisis. Okay. I mean, and we have a lot of community mental health centers that they're doing an amazing job for multiple reasons. Many of them take the insurance. Many they go in with a sliding scale that they can pay just a small fee for people to get treated. There are places like Chrysalis and Jackson Memorial, Citrus Health, that they have adult practice. Serena is one of them, and some of the other behavioral programs down in Homestead are doing an amazing job.
Okay.
It all depends on the need of every adult patient and their specialty in any one of them. So I refer people for trauma to Jackson Memorial because they have a trauma center kind of thing. So think like that.
So it depends on this, as you said,
on the condition and the thing that we wanted to do.
Do you ever feel like you need psychiatric help or
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
think we should just go and get in one room.
One of the things that I was myself involved was in psychoanalytic, practice. I didn't become a psychoanalyst, thank God, because I don't think it worked really that well. But the psychoanalyst created the base of every therapy in the world. And one of the things that we used to have, in order to become a psychoanalyst, you need to be in therapy for 1 year. And that what they did is basically explore your personality, explore your thing, to see if you were capable of doing the job that we do. I do advise. I know what we do is peer and mentorship kind of things. Like I have some of my doctors that come to me with a problem. I could go to some of them for my problem, things like that.
Think about it. You sit down, listen to
and we help each other. For my fellows and residents, for example, we created what we call process group. It's basically to deal with the issue that we deal every day, because some of them impact you. For example, if a kid tried to hurt himself after you discharge them, it becomes a problem.
That's what I was going to say. Like, sometimes do you ever feel like you fell short?
Then you feel bad because you feel like you failed. You feel like this. And you might have done the best job in the world, but you don't feel good about it. Any person, your adult, hurting themselves, for example, it affects you personally. So we create process group for all to talk about those things. That way you don't take it home, because that's another problem. If you let this thing affect you, it will bring you home another problem.
Yeah. Have you ever had a situation where you work with a client and he comes back 5 years later and super successful and everything's going good?
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Thank God.
Oh, that's amazing. That's when you.
That is the reason why I do what I do.
That's good stuff.
Because if I have a kid, you walk into a place, like I walked into CVS the other day, I saw one of my kids that I saw when he was 10 years old. Wow. He was the manager of that CVS.
Wow.
And he told me, "Hey, Dr. Padilla." And I said, look at him. I said, "Johnny?"
Yeah.
I didn't recognize it. He was so bit different.
Yeah.
I said, "Yeah, that's me." And he gave me a hug and all that kind of stuff. That is amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. Good work, Dr. Will.
Yeah, that's my job. That's what I do.
Doc, come back. You gotta come back. You gotta come back.
Whatever you guys invite me, I'll be here.
You gotta come back and give a little bit of psychoanalyzing here to the rest of the crew.